What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Lifestyle of Eden podcast. I'm your host, Nick Tognietti. Today, I really want to discuss what's called terrain theory. Now, many people, in fact, most coaches do not know what terrain theory is. There's a lot of my mentees that are in my mentoring program, as well as a lot of the coaches that are applying for Lifestyle of Eden University, LEU, which is launching here. I'm very excited in 2 months in October. And one of the things that I don't talk about a whole lot, quite frankly, I probably don't talk about enough, but it's terrain theory. We need to understand what terrain theory is. Now, when we're talking about terrain, right, we're talking about the environment of something. So it just is about, hey, what terrain in regards to what, right? Are we talking about the desert? Are we talking about a landscape? Are we talking about the body? In this case, I think you would probably guess that we're talking about the body. So there's terrain theory and then there's germ theory. And just to make it very clear, I and Lifestyle of Eden perspective is about what we call terrain theory. The Bible backs this up rather than germ theory. The concept of germ theory is what definitely a lot of practitioners, but then other people that are not necessarily practitioners, they're more influencers, and they're all about germ theory. They will literally pick out every food, even down to like gluten-free organic oatmeal, and tell you why you can't eat oatmeal because it has this and it's got this and it's my goodness, dude. Literally, hey, you can't have freaking bananas because bananas have too much of this and their digestion is on this. And it's crazy. And then they get into, now here's the thing, there is some validation to germ theory. Like, for example, they'll say, hey, you need to not have this body wash or you need to not have this. And it's like, no, I don't throw out germ theory in the sense that, hey, there's different germs and contaminants that you're utilizing from the outside that are going to mess up the inside. 100%, that is a proven scientific fact that we have to be careful with the germs that we are putting in our body and around our body, as it does affect antibodies for autoimmunes. Like, for example, in 1986, right, the nuclear disasters in Chernobyl. So in Chernobyl, they did the study in 1986 where in Chernobyl, those who were within a certain diameter, if you will, of the nuclear disasters, 81% of kids had spiked thyroid peroxidase antibodies, which is, if you don't know what thyroid peroxidase antibodies are, or TPOAB, it is how you diagnose or measure Hashimoto's autoimmune disease. And then outside of Chernobyl, the kids in that area, it was down to only 17%. So you saw these like radical disasters based off of germs, right, from the outside in your environment. But even then, it still comes more to terrain. So I'm going to get to terrain. Terrain theory is more, hey, let's stop freaking out or overdoing, like trying to be perfect on every nuance of the food and drink we put in our body. And let's focus more on the terrain, the environment within our body that's coming from the hormonal language of like your stress, your inflammation, all of these things. And the way that I talk about this, I was just talking about this with somebody the other day, where when I was going through a really sick season, right, I could not have one for 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years. I literally could not have anything off of my plan. Like, I couldn't have that cake. I couldn't go out to eat. I couldn't even eat like at my brother's if he's cooking up like tri-tip, but he puts like brown sugar and a bunch of other stuff. I couldn't do it because the terrain of my body, because of my stress and cortisol and not sleeping and my inflammation from autoimmune, was so flared that if I did that one time, it would literally destroy me. I'd be in bed. I'd be devoured. Meanwhile, if I'm healthy and I don't have the crazy stress and cortisol and inflammation going on in the body, and I'm getting my sleep and I'm doing the 7 pillars of disease reversal, prevention, and longevity, then I can actually get away with eating that pizza and ice cream every once in a while. Like, I'll do it and I actually won't feel bad at all. I'll feel great. Why? Because the environment is more important than every molecule you put in your body. That's what terrain theory discusses. So just to prove this, I'll prove this outside the Bible and then I'll prove it inside the Bible. Okay. And okay. So there are many people like myself good example, but I have many clients like this who they do everything right to a T. They eat right. They go through the exact motions. But the reality is their internal stress and environment from marriage issues, home issues, environmental toxicities with work, or just cortisol being off, whatever. Like you're eating all the right food, this, that, and the other, but yet you're more sick than anybody you know, and everybody else you know is actually eating whatever they want. They're eating Chipotle a couple times a week and they're going out and doing this. So why is it that those people that are doing everything right, quote unquote, they are the ones with the chronic gut issues, and they're the ones with the acne issues, and they're the ones with all these other things? And I've had clients ask me this, Nick, I eat perfectly. How is it that my GI map came back and I have opportunistic bacteria and H. pylori and candida? And like, how is it that this happens? And I go, and I tell them, I say, listen, it is governed by the environment of your body, because your stress and cortisol dictates your immune system, and your immune system dictates the environment of the gut microbiome. Okay. And so these people that are crazy stressed out and they've got these hyperfixations and controlling personalities and whatnot, keep in mind, I'm just explaining myself, by the way. This is why I know so much about it and have had to overcome these things. But those people are the ones that struggle the most. And then you have the other people that are like, hey, just take a chill pill. And I'm not saying that you can just take a chill pill and then eat crap food and do whatever you want. No, that's not what it is, because that will also lead to disease. But the point is that we're so hyper focused on every little nuance, and we're missing relaxation. We're missing the pillars. We're missing the sleep. We're missing our laughter and being with community and having great marriages. People are meal prepping and doing this, that, and the other, and then they go and stress because they're working 75 hours a week trying to pay for that big house and their wife's boob implants and their shopping addictions and all this other crap. And then putting both of their kids in the nicest private school. I'm like, your kid is going to learn the same amount in that nice private school that they would learn in the worst public school there is. All they need to know is that 2 + 2 = 4 and Abraham Lincoln was the 16th president. Like, they can learn that anywhere. I've applied nothing that I've learned in school ever. Bring to me a millionaire and ask him the question, hey, so how much of the distance from the sun with all the other planets and all these things that you learn in pre-calculus, how much do you apply that to your lifestyle? And they're going to say 0. I dropped out of high school. Like me, I dropped out of high school literally, and then had to go get my diploma through graduating early at another place. You know what I mean? So you're stressing about the wrong things, essentially. And so now I'm going to bring it inside the Bible and show you why terrain theory will win. Okay. So the Bible tells us that the environment will dictate the person. So if you put a really good person in the Lord, and when I say good, keep in mind, I know what Jesus says, no one's good but God. I get that. What I'm saying is somebody dedicated to the Lord, they're righteous before God, and their devotion and their heart posture towards him and so forth. And you put them in a wicked environment. Who does that sound like? It sounds like Lot, right? Being in Sodom and Gomorrah. And what does Peter say? That righteous man tormented his own soul by being around the people of Sodom in their lawless deeds, right? To where over time, he started diminishing in his righteous devotion to the Lord, because his soul was tormented. I can personally speak to this, by the way. Meanwhile, you take a really quote unquote unbelieving person or wicked person and you put them around a bunch of believers. Over time, that person gets influenced. Why? Because the terrain of his environment is holy and righteous. And over time, it starts to neutralize that. It's the same thing in our body. If we have a really balanced body hormonally and from inflammation, I can put that bad food in there. And honestly, that one pizza that I'm going to have maybe once a month or something like that, like, it's just not going to do anything to me. I'm going to be fine. But the same thing with a really bad environment, right? If I'm a really healthy and unhealthy individual and I eat that chicken and rice, guess what? I'm still probably going to feel like crap. I'm not going to get any results. I might even get extra bloating and this, that, and the other. So it's the terrain. How do you fix the terrain then? The terrain, keep in mind, terrain is an environment. So it really just starts with the 7 pillars. You got to make sure that you're eating appropriately. You've got to make sure that you're having the right environment with community, stress management, environmental toxicity, laughter, all the cortisol regulating activities and environmental factors. and then the right body movement. It doesn't mean you're having to work out intensely at Lifetime Fitness every day, but going on those walks that are like not, or getting up and gardening and moving the body and just moving around, being active, being out in the sun, getting the vitamin D that comes from the UV rays that trigger the 7-dehydrocholesterol in your skin to develop pre-vitamin D3, which turns into vitamin D3. Like it's an environmental thing. And then hydration, right? Proper hydration at the cellular level with unrefined mineral salt. And then oxygenation, right? Cold showers and things of that nature. Autophagy, sleep. Like these things create the environment that will neutralize when you go on that vacation and then you eat, that cinnamon roll French toast that you basically never have. And it's, oh, I went on vacation for 4 days. People always wonder, Nick, how do you lose weight on vacation? Because on vacation, I actually am way less stressed. So that's why I lose weight. So why? Because the bad food doesn't even mess with me on vacation because I'm not stressed. The terrain of your environment is going to always trump the germ theory. But it's not to do away with germ theory, meaning, hey, don't worry about germs. No, I am all about being careful with what I put into my body because that over time develops the terrain of your body. So, like even coffee, I'm really big on the type of coffee I have now being tested for mold and mycotoxins from mold. Because about 50% of coffees, they're showing and proving in PubMed literature that they're loaded with mold. And it's the reason why these people's inflammation and immune systems cannot get regulated no matter what they do, and it's a nightmare. So that's part of germ theory, like for sure. But we can't get so hyper focused on the stuff that we're putting into our shampoo and blah blah blah, and we're missing the fact that your marriage is very troubled and your home environment sucks and you're sleeping 5 hours a night and you're not laughing multiple times a week or even every day, like just laughing and having a good time because of your environment with community and your marriage and your spouse and your kids and all of that. If you don't have that and you're freaking out about, oh, these eggs are not organic, keep in mind you're talking to Mr. Organic right now. I am organic. I do everything organic. But what I'm saying is you can't have that at the neglect of the things that govern terrain. Okay, it would be like having a really poor marriage, but yet you buy her flowers every week. Okay, you buy her flowers, but you still treat her like crap. You don't spend time with her. When she's crying, you don't try to understand her feelings. Y'all are not having sex and having intimate time together. Like you're not spending time together, but yet you want to buy flowers as if that's going to keep the marriage healthy and going and flourishing. No, like now you're trying to put a germ, an outside thing of the flowers, into a very poor environment. Fix the environment. And then, quite frankly, whether you do the flowers or not, it's going to be freaking awesome. So, this is terrain theory, and this is what I believe in Lifestyle of Eden is fixing the terrain. It's why I constantly am preaching what? The 7 pillars. Okay, like I said, my clients, okay, great, you're following the diet, you're doing that perfectly, but are you grounding? Are you spending time with family? Oh, you're not making time for your sleep. So you're going through certain motions thinking that's going to fix everything. It's not. It's genuine lifestyle mentality fixations that are going to develop an environment to where having that one little thing isn't going to mess it up. Think about it like this. What if I have a really hot bathtub and I put one big cup of ice cubes into it? Those ice cubes are just going to melt and you're never going to even know they were there. How do I know that? Because I literally just did that in my hot tub the other day and it was way too freaking hot. And I had to wait like 30 minutes for it to cool off. But I put 6 big cups of ice in it and it didn't do anything. Why? Because the terrain or environment of that bathtub is super hot. So no matter what I put into it, the hot wins. It's the same thing with the body. No matter what good or supplements or medication I put into the body, if my environment is off, none of those things will matter. And this is why even doctors that I speak with, who are very big fans, by the way, of HRT, hormone replacement therapy, will literally teach publicly, hey, people are fanboying about or fangirling about HRT. And they wonder why when they go on it, they feel great, but 2 weeks later, they feel like crap again. Why? Because you have to understand, even if I take that thyroid medication that has T3 in it, If my environment is so toxic and stressed that I can't convert T4 to T3, my cells are going to be inflamed and reject that T3 medication. It's going to make you feel good for 7 days, and then after that, you can no longer receive it. Same thing with testosterone or hormones. You felt great for 2 weeks or even a month. And then what? Over time, the inflammation took back over, and none of those hormones were able to bind properly to receptors, whether it's progesterone, testosterone, estrogen, DHEA, whatever it is. Why? Because the terrain wins. The outside and the germ concept doesn't necessarily win. Can it help or affect things a little bit here and there? For sure. And can it affect terrain over time? For sure. Like I said, I've even seen coffee alone do this over time. But the fact is, are you focusing on the terrain? Are you sleeping good and just having a really healthy inflammatory balance within the body? Or are you constantly swollen and inflamed and brain fogged and this, that, and the other? Now, yeah, it doesn't matter what good or bad you have, you're going to feel like crap. But the people that are healthy, like I have multiple clients, right, where I just get them so healthy after they've been so sick. And then they'll go on vacation for 5 days to Mexico. And now, generally, they're still eating clean food because they just love how they feel on it. So they'll eat the eggs and the oatmeals and fresh fruit and all of that. But guess what? They're also having a couple pina coladas each day. And they're having that dessert at night. And but guess what? They feel fantastic still. And even though over 2, 3, 4, 5 days of time, you start to go, oh man, I'm feeling a little heavy. Guess what? The day they get back and they get back on track, their body immediately flushes that out and they feel fantastic again. Why? Because the terrain of the environment is very resilient. The terrain of their body. So this is terrain theory, and it's something that I think people and coaches and practitioners need to focus more on, because you'll realize too, as you focus on the terrain of an individual over time, this is how you're going to get somebody long-term results. So I hope that this helps you, gives you a little bit of understanding between what is not really spoken much about, terrain theory and germ theory. Although, even though you haven't heard it necessarily in those terms, you're probably going, oh yeah, no, if that's what that's called, then I hear that all the time. I hear germ theory all the time, freaking out about what's in your deodorant and everything. Like I said, I'm not saying don't be concerned about that. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, just like I'm like, hey, no, screw Splenda, screw all of those artificial sweeteners, get stevia or honey or date sugar or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying neglect that concept, but now you understand, oh, okay, there's a name for this thought process or that thought process, and this is the order that it should be understood in. And when you do it that way, I think it really begins to make a lot of sense. And I think it starts to just develop flat out more obvious results for everybody. So if there's any questions on this, you guys can always reach out to me. I hope this helps. Share this with somebody that you know who's doing all the right things, but yet they're still sick. Or maybe it's you who are listening. But I hope that this helps and makes you realize you need my 7 pillars of disease reversal, prevention, and longevity. Every person is designed to have to depend on those 7 pillars. Nobody is above them. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. I don't care what you think or where you're from. Every person is under the umbrella of the need for the 7 pillars of disease reversal and longevity, which is going to create a terrain or an environment for your body to thrive while still enjoying those sweets every once in a while, not necessarily every week. Hey, once a month, y'all wanted to go get a couple cookies or something like that or whatever. Okay, great. It's not gonna throw you into bed. You're gonna be fine because that's not something you normally do. And the terrain of your physique and your body and your health and your inflammation and your immune system and all of these things are just super well balanced and structured, where those things just evaporate in the body the way that a bunch of ice cubes would just evaporate in or melt into a very hot bathtub. Okay? Stay tuned for the next episode.